make sure we've got a good visual. How's that there, Dr. B? What do we think?
Can we see? Okay, maybe tilt that screen back a little bit. Ethel, I can see you right there. Give me a little wave if that camera's working. Okay, yeah, can you see us? All right, awesome, good. So you guys are all, hey, Kathy, you guys are all muted. That's purposely done so that we don't have any background noise or distractions there. Dr. B, can you stick your head in there? Lean over that camera. There. Hey. There's Dr. B. So we are going to share with you tonight. As we were preparing for this, I was kind of thinking how ridiculous this is that I'm doing this, because I'm calling my wife every 4 minutes, asking her questions about what we actually really do. And she was trying to give me the background, but I'll share a lot of the theory with you today. Dr. B's got a great personal recipe that he and his wife, Kristen, have been using for years that they love, which is an awesome, cool little healthier twist on a everyday Canadian favorite. I've got a couple of demonstrations that I want to show you. And then I also want to start to share with you, we'll start tonight by sharing with you guys a bunch of tweaks and hacks. And so these are little things that over the years that we've really started to substitute out at our house and try to tweak. And I would tell you, like, as I was preparing, I was trying to think of what would I say would be kind of the main governing principles that we would try to use when we're preparing foods and when we're getting nutrient intake in our house here. And, you know, God bless my wife, because this is really like a passion of hers. She spends hours and hours and hours learning about all things health, but nutrition is really something that she has got a strong grasp on, and she has been just tweaking and modifying and growing and learning in so many different ways all the time. So in terms of things, principles, okay? So number one is we don't ever want in our house to use empty calories, okay? So there are certain foods, like, you know, it's not that we don't ever use it, but example, like alcohol would be an example of a very empty calorie. So if you take vodka, for example, there isn't nutrient inside of there, there's calories. That's why some foods are actually a lot more dangerous than other foods, is because they can fill you up, but they can provide no nutrient value for you. So all the cells of our bodies, they need enzymes, they need nutrients, they need minerals, they need all kinds of things in order to be able to function and heal and regenerate and do all this stuff. And, you know, I remember being a little boy sitting at my grandmother's table and my grandmother saying to me, Matt, you are what you eat, like literally. And I didn't understand it at that point, but what we put into our bodies today is actually becoming our bodies. So the coolest thing about our bodies is they're in a constant state of healing and turnover. So I say to patients all the time, you have an opportunity to turn yourself over stronger and healthier than you are right now. So an example would be is if a woman has osteoporosis, right? So their bone density is really deteriorating. There's an opportunity over a period of years for their bone to get strong again, because your bone is constantly in this cycle of breaking itself down and building itself back up. And when we build ourselves back up, part of how we build ourselves back up is with the foods that we eat. So cool things are, for example, like your blood, every 120 days, you have a brand new blood supply in your body. Like a red blood cell's got a 120-day lifespan. So when you recreate your blood over the next 120 days, you have an opportunity to recreate it stronger and healthier than it's been, you know, for years. You have brand new skin on your body every 3 to 4 days. Your stomach lining lasts you about 4 days. Your bone turns over continually, but it's completely turned over in approximately a 5 to 7 year cycle, right? So I'm always saying in everything that we do, the recreation process that God made inside of our bodies is outstanding. And we want to make sure that we maximize that. So back to grandma's laws of health, right? I remember her saying, move it or lose it, and you are what you eat, right? So what you put into your body today is, yes, it's giving you energy, but it is what your body is using to rebuild itself and heal itself. So when you're rebuilding, do you think your body's going to rebuild better with water or Coca-Cola, right? Is your body going to rebuild better with, beautiful fresh vegetables or Doritos? These are the questions that we have to ask ourselves when we put these things into us, because food, it's really just the last, probably century or so that food has actually become something that's really like fun and satisfying, or, just part of getting happiness out of. Really, food for all of these years that we've existed as humans has really been more about survival, right? It's really been more about supplying your energy so you can get through the day. It's just since we really started manipulating foods and adding chemicals and preservatives and all these different things to them, that food has actually become something that's like, really like a way to satisfy yourself, right? Like it used to just be utilitarian, where you go out in the back, you hunt, you get a rabbit, and you just eat what you got because that's what you got, right? And so in terms of that, rule number one with regards to food is no empty calories. You want those calories to be high nutrient value and high utilization inside your body, okay? Rule number two, okay, and we've had to really gravitate this way based on the modern production of foods. I'm not saying it's always been this way, but based on modern production of foods, rule number two is we want to really try to eliminate the carbohydrate side of foods, especially carbohydrates that are manufactured. Okay, so it's a little bit different if you're eating a high nutrient piece of fruit, but if you're eating a refined piece of grain that's gone through a manufacturing process, that's going to behave completely different in your body. And I went through this a little bit on the last workshop with you guys, but we need, like it's not even a desire anymore. If we want to be healthy, we need to limit the insulin production in our body. And we are, as a society, off the rails with how much insulin gets produced inside of our body. Insulin is a hormone, and that hormone is tied to everything from weight gain to cancer to atherosclerosis for heart disease. There are almost all degenerative diseases out there have a response to excessive insulin production inside the body. So, guys, like the nickname nowadays for Alzheimer's is literally diabetes of the brain. Okay, so we have got to make sure that we are really moderating insulin levels. So that's sort of concept number two that goes behind a lot of these hacks and these things. And then concept number three that would go with it would be increase our good fat content. Okay, so again, this is a today's society thing, but in a nutshell, okay, what we're putting into our bodies is way too much bad fat and out of proportion omega-6 fat relative to omega-3. How we got that way was by becoming a corn-dominated society. So your beef, your chicken, your farm-raised fish, they're all fed corn. So when you go to the grocery store and it says 100% grain-fed Alberta beef, it sounds luxurious. It sounds like you're doing a healthy thing, but grain is another word for AKA corn. When we feed these animals corn, these animals produce omega-6 fat inside of them. When they produce omega-6 fat inside of them and you eat that, you end up being out of ratio with the fats inside your body. So we as human beings, depending on the study that you read, we function best when our omega-3 and our omega-6 are in a ratio of 1:1. Okay? Some studies you'd read would say it could actually even get as high as 1:3. So that means like 1 omega-3, 3 omega-6s. Average person in North America, I have read, is approximately 1:50. So that means that we are so out of whack with those omega-6s. So when we talk about getting good fats, the good fats tend to have a lot of high value for omega-3s. And so we try to bring that back into ratio. And so again, these are tweaks and hacks that we do in today's society that we didn't really have to worry about, back in the days of Little House on the Prairie, because Charles Ingalls cows were going to pasture. When they went to pasture, they were feeding on grass. And when they ate grass, that beef produced omega-3 inside of it. So if you're eating grass-fed beef, that's different than eating grain-fed beef. Huge difference between the two of them. So that's why you want to try, when you are eating animal products and fish as well, is you want to try to get pasture raised animals. You send a chicken out to pasture and it's going to eat bugs, insects, all those different kinds of things. And it's going to produce a different ratio of fats inside of its yolk, inside of its own meat, its skin. Everything's going to be different than when a chicken is raised in an industrialized way and fed, corn predominantly. So in terms of that, those are the three principles. Okay, just really to recap, everything should be high in nutrients. Okay, just no empty calories. Number two is everything should be focused on reducing insulin, which basically means getting that carbohydrate category way down. And then number three is getting the good quality fats up. So you'll see me just kind of reach off to the side of the screen here. I'm going to grab a couple products back and forth, and I'm just going to unpack those principles for you. Okay? So as I come back here, I'm going to put here, hopefully you can see it on the screen, okay? But can you, if I come here, raise that up a bit, okay? So these are mayonnaise-based products here, okay? So in the middle, you would see here what people would think would be a healthier version of Hellmann's mayonnaise. So when I look at the back of this Hellmann's mayonnaise, it is a healthier version. It's not a lie, but what it says on the label as I turn it around is that it says it's made with olive oil, which is true. So what they did was they took their original canola-based, okay, mayonnaise, and they added a little squirt of olive oil to it. So now the packaging can say made with what? Olive oil. It is still dominated. Guess what the very first ingredient on the list is, guys? The first ingredient on any ingredient list is the ingredient that dominates it the most. So when you flip it back and you read the fine print, it actually says what's listed first? Canola oil. Okay. Then after that, it says olive oil, liquid whole egg, vinegar, liquid egg yolk, salt, sugar, okay, spices, concentrated lemon juice, and calcium disodium EDTA to maintain the flavor. So just in a nutshell, you don't want anything that says EDTA on it, okay? If you can't pronounce it, you probably don't want it in your body. Although this is a smidge of a healthier lateral move from the traditional Hellmann's, and God forbid Miracle Whip, because that stuff's just all fake chemicals. But this here is a little bit of a healthier step in the right direction. But just so you know, guys, food marketers are deceptive, big time. What are they trying to do with this? They're trying to capitalize on the natural food movement, right? So the main front label says made with olive oil, and yep, they're not lying. There's a squirt in there, but it doesn't actually dominate the product. So if you were to switch over to something like this, okay, this is by Chosen Foods, and this is, again, they're trying to capitalize on marketing too, so they call it what kind of mayonnaise? Keto, right? But again, they're trying to capitalize on marketing, but the reality is the products inside here are actually healthy. So when I read it, it says coconut oil, okay, which we all know of, egg yolk, water, vinegar, salt, mustard, and organic rosemary extract. Done, right? So everything on there, we actually know exactly what it is. The oil they're using inside of here is good. Why don't we want canola oil? Canola oil doesn't even exist in nature, guys, okay? In a lab, they hybridized some grain and they actually created something called a rapeseed. So rapeseed or rapeseed, however it's properly pronounced, the rapeseed didn't even exist in nature. It got created in a laboratory, and then they produced the rapeseed plant and they extract canola oil from the rapeseed plant. So it's all fake manufactured oil. They sell it as a healthier oil because they say it contains omega-6 and blah, blah, blah. But if I strongly believe is that if something doesn't actually occur in nature, chances are it's not probably best for our bodies, okay? So there's that as an option. And then another great option that we really like in our house is also by Chosen Foods, but instead of it being a coconut oil-based product, we actually love their avocado oil product. Some people struggle with the taste of coconut, and so we like this one. This one happens to also have garlic in it, so you don't have to get this. It doesn't have to be like a dark colored mayo like this. That just comes from the black garlic that's added to it. But again, we look at our ingredient list, and what we see on here, avocado oil, black garlic, egg yolk, water, organic whole eggs, organic distilled white vinegar, salt, organic mustard, organic vinegar, organic mustard seed, and organic rosemary extract. So again, everything we know. So you kind of got a continuum there of mayonnaise products. I love mayo, so I want to hit the healthier ones. Okay? So that's that. I'm going to shift this back here. We're going to give you a couple little hacks here with regards to nut butter. So with regards to this would actually be from Farm Boy, and it's actually like a healthier version of peanut butter. Just so you know, if you're getting pretty much like a Skippy's type of peanut butter, a Jiffy kind of peanut butter, mostly all of them have sugar added to them. Right? So number one is you want to limit your peanut butter as a whole, because peanut butter has a very, not peanut butter, but peanuts carry a very high mold content just in the nature of what they are. And so with regards to peanut butter in our house, we would use this very, very sparingly, but there's the odd time. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I love a Reese's peanut butter cup as much as the next guy. So peanut butter, you know, we have it in the house, but we try not to use a ton of it. What we use instead, which works great nowadays with all these kids who have allergies, because your kids can't take anything nut-based to school anymore, is sunflower butter. Okay, and again, there'd be 3 different colors of these on the shelves. There'd be this orange one, there'd be 2 other colors. I forget if they're blue and green. Why we pick the orange one is it's the only one that has no sugar added. Why do we like the sunflower butter? Number one, it's got a smaller carbohydrate content than even the clean peanut butter. So just as a whole, the sunflowers have a smidge less sugar in it than a peanut butter naturally does. Second of all, sunflowers do not have a high mold and toxin content like peanuts do. And sunflower seeds are packed with tons of great nutrient. So in here, you're getting higher nutrient value. And it's awesome. So if our kids want to snack at night and they cut up an apple, and instead of dipping it in peanut butter, they dip it in this nut butter. They can also use this to go to school, because in the allergy sort of nut-free world they live in at school, they can't take regular nut butters, even almond butter. So we use this. This is also at a better price point than almond butter, right? You can probably bankrupt your family buying almond butter. So this is a better price point, right? And it's awesome. So it's a great swap out there as far as that goes. Okay. Couple of options here for the pasta lovers out there. So at our house, okay, we wouldn't use just a traditional like Ital pasta sort of, you know, $1.99 bag of pasta. Again, very high carbohydrate, high insulin production, but almost no nutrient value goes with it. So very, very low nutrient value. Also made predominantly with North American wheat, which, guys, that's a whole nother Zoom call on itself, okay? But North American wheat is a very, very challenging thing on our digestive tracts. So this is a product called GoGo Quinoa. And GoGo Quinoa, you find this at Costco, you find it in most grocery stores. They use the ancient grain quinoa as their base. So it's great. It's not been hybridized like most North American wheat has. It's not sprayed with glyphosate like Monsanto wants everything sprayed with glyphosate. And this has a little bit of a swing to it. So the one here that I have in this hand, this is actually cauliflower fusilli. So when I'm giving my kids pasta, which I don't want to do a ton of anyway, however, they do love it. And when we're giving it to them, what they're getting inside of here is also a half a serving of vegetables, and they don't even know it. So it's using quinoa and cauliflower. And as far as the carbohydrate content goes, it's certainly not excellent. There's still lots of carbohydrates inside of here. It's just now, with the carbohydrates, they're getting a better quality grain, and they're getting a little sneak in there of some vegetables. This one here is a chickpea base. And so same thing, you've got chickpea, you've got a little bit of brown rice and quinoa in this. And inside of here, you're getting 13 grams of protein for a portion of this to go along with your carbohydrate intake, and you're getting a lot of nutrient density. So as a whole, I'm gonna say, pasta is not the greatest because it has the high carb base and creates the high insulin
reaction inside the body. But if we're going to swap it out and we're going to look for something better, this is a step in the right direction. We didn't have any in our cupboard today, but what we also usually have in there is something called Marie's. So the brand is Marie, and Marie makes a pure chickpea pasta, which means it's completely grain-free, right? So it's not made from quinoa, it's not made from anything. And Marie's chickpea pasta is actually out of this world. Like a lot of these products, guys, like people bring me like their gluten-free bread and I almost like cough up a fur ball. It's so gross, right? These pastas actually, they're decent, like not decent, they're actually very good tasting. And the Marie's pasta is really, really good as well, okay? Let's talk real quick here for dairy swaps. Okay, so basically, real cow's milk, Little House on the Prairie, I went out to the barn and milked the cow's milk is probably one of the most powerful foods that you can actually put into your body. It is unbelievably healthy for you. The problem is, in North America, it's illegal. Okay? So you can't actually buy real cow's milk without it being pasteurized, without those animals being manipulated and modified. And again, most of those cows that they're milking in the industrial world right now are being fed what? Corn, right? And so as that happens, the milk is completely different than milk originally was. So the Weston A. Price Foundation, which is an absolutely awesome traditional nutrition-oriented resource, they would tell you that like in the old days, real cow's milk was tremendously healing and tremendously wonderful, but we just don't have it anymore. So here's what we use in our house as some substitutes. This is an almond-based milk. And again, our choice on this, up at the top, you're gonna see unsweetened, okay? These almond milks, just to try to get you guys, hooked on the taste of them, they add sugar to a lot of them. So this is an unsweetened vanilla. And again, we don't just drink this by the glass with dinner, but we'll use this for things like baking, etc. We don't use a ton of this. There's a couple of reasons. There's an ingredient in there called carrageenan that we're not crazy about. So we try to moderate what we would do with this, but my wife loves this for even some of her hot drinks that she likes to make. This is a coconut milk. Again, same thing, guys. At the top, you're going to see the word unsweetened. Why? Because they'll add sugar to this stuff to make it more enticing for your kids to pour on their cereal. So as far as this goes here, this would be our go-to for a ton of stuff. Like when our kids make smoothies, they'll put this coconut milk in there. It's an awesome substitute. The oil, the fat, all that stuff from coconuts is outstanding. We love it. And then this is, we've probably only been onto this for a couple years, whereas the other ones we've been onto for a while, but this is oat milk. And oat milk, we have found, like we love at our house cafe time. So we love our hot beverages, our lattes, all that sort of stuff. And oat milk works great with respect to that. So those are three things that are in our house all the time. We don't have 3 bags of milk in the fridge like I grew up with. We don't have, cartons of dairy of any kind. It's just hormonally disruptive inside of people nowadays. It's really tough on the immune system, and it's very, very challenging to our bodies as a whole. So that's the skinny on dairy substitutes. This one here, we probably go through the most of because we do make a lot of smoothies in our house. This one second, and then this one would be last. But all three of those would be in our house. The days of no salt are gone. Back in the 80s when they told us no salt and no fat, they lied to us is what the bottom line is. Again, probably a whole nother weekend seminar, but salt, your body needs salt. You have to have salt, okay? So what you don't need though is the cheap road salt that they spray on the roads that they like to package in a box and call it sodium chloride and have you stick it on your table and shake it out. What we have learned over the years is that if you use either an organic, non-GMO, okay, Celtic sea salt, okay, or a Himalayan-based pink rock salt, you will not only get the salt, but you'll get lots of really good minerals that go into your body, and you don't have to be crazy hesitant about it. When they tell you you get too much sodium, et cetera, that's true. But that comes from all those packaged, refined foods that just, you know, sit in those cartons and all the rest of it, where, yeah, they're jamming all kinds of sodium and salt inside of there. Whereas when you want to add salt to your food, if you're making something at home, these salts, you do not have to worry and be ultra sparingly about these. You don't have to worry that you're going to have high blood pressure issues because of them, et cetera, et cetera. The white sugar swap. Okay, so here's pretty much what I grew up on here. This is just your white refined sugar. I never knew there was a problem with it. In fact, my younger brother, he's like 5 years younger than me, we used to dip his soother in this and shove it in his mouth to keep him quiet, right? So, I mean, talk about, I mean, he's got a lot of problems now, that kid, right? He's hyper. We wonder why he's hyper, right? We used to dip his soother in white sugar and seriously never thought there was anything wrong with it, right? So this is your fastest insulin releasing sugar. You put this in, this is what kids are going to be hyper on come Saturday night. This is what's in all those chocolate bars and all that candy and all the rest of it. It's cheap, but just so you know, guys, this does not exist in nature, okay? A sugar cane is very different than the white extract that they pull out of the sugar cane. Sugar cane's full of fiber, it's full of all kinds of stuff. If you chewed on sugar cane, you would not want to do it over and over again like you would when you chew on this, okay? So this white sugar here is highly refined, very, very quick to release insulin. And if you told me that you were going to create a habit of drinking a cup of olive oil every day or eating 2 tablespoons of this sugar every day, and you said, which one's going to make me fatter? All day long, this will make you fat. Olive oil will never make you fat. You can drink a half a jar of olive oil all day long and you'll never get fat. You put this sugar inside your body and fat starts swinging around your waist instantly, because insulin makes you fat, guys. It is not fat that makes you fat. Insulin makes you fat. Okay? Look at any type 1 diabetic out there. If they do not supplement insulin, if you are a type 1 diabetic and you do not supplement insulin, so you are not producing insulin, your pancreas is dead, you will never put on weight, ever. In fact, you will deteriorate and waste away to the point where you'll die. You will never find a type 1 diabetic who is not supplementing their insulin overweight. You cannot store fat without insulin, okay? However, on the contrast, right, when somebody's, you know, on the brink of type 2 diabetes, and that means their cells not receptive to the insulin, but their body's producing insulin like crazy because the cell's not receptive to it, those people get really what? Big and heavy, okay? You have to understand insulin is the culprit in weight gain. We were fed a lie all through the 80s. Good fat's good for you. So what are you going to substitute out with? I mean, this is honey. It's not, I'm not giving you a license to use it nonstop. It'll sweeten things. It'll give you a bit of nutrient value, where this, you get no nutrient value, but at least with this, you're getting a bit of nutrient value, okay? We'll go with stevia sometimes because the insulin response with stevia is even lower yet. It's not nil, but it's lower yet. So you're getting sweetener. It's a plant-based sweetener, and it will, you know, kind of hit that midpoint. So if we're making something like fresh squeezed lemonade and we want to try to sweeten it up a little bit, we'll use this stevia. It works awesome. Okay. We make popsicles for the kids. We'll put this stevia in there to try to create that little bit of sweetness that they're going for. Try to make sure it's organic, because if it's not organic, you're probably getting a lot of toxins in that stevia that your body doesn't want or need in there. Okay. Super easy little hack for lunch meat. Keep a rotisserie chicken in the fridge, or roast your own chicken every week, okay? So I'm telling you that when you have those lunch meats that are in the fridge, they're filled with preservatives, okay? The fact that the deli can keep chicken in their refrigerator without cutting it for months and months, and it's not actually gone bad, tells you there's stuff in there, right? We know that nitrates are known carcinogens, etc. So when you're throwing together your kids' lunches in the morning and you're trying to find something quick for yourself, if you don't have a chance to roast your own chicken, keep it, like, you know, every, 4 days when my wife's at the grocery store, she just buys a roasted chicken, has it in there. Sometimes we don't use it as faithfully as we should, but it's there for that quick lunch, right? When you don't have a plan in place, that's when we usually try to grab the garbage and so on. Okay? Real quick substitute here, I'll just grab out for you. That is rice. This is a little package of shredded up cauliflower. Okay, so this is what it looks like, I think, in the freezer at Costco. It's organic rice cauliflower. So it's really got nothing to do with rice. It's just cauliflower that is actually made to be like rice. Okay, so last night my wife made some form of a jambalaya for dinner. So it had the tomato base, the shrimp, the chicken, all that sort of stuff inside of it. And instead of putting it over rice, we put it over cauliflower rice. So it's awesome. It's handy. It's in the fridge. It's already there. It's a super great hack. Just so you know, when you look at that cauliflower, it has a half a cup of it has 3 grams of carbohydrates. 2 of those are fiber, and 1 of them breaks down as a sugar. Whereas in a quarter cup of rice, you'd have 34 grams of carbohydrates, right? So you have 10 times the insulin production from this in half the size of this. So I guess it's 20 times size for size, right? So you're going to release 20 times more insulin when you have this rice compared to when you would have the cauliflower rice. So those are just some real quick little hacks for you guys. I'm going to bring Dr. B around, and I'm going to let him demonstrate for you a really cool variation that he and his wife Kristen use with regards to a Canadian favorite. And he'll be around in a second, guys.
How's it going, guys? So for our first recipe here tonight, I myself am a lover of hamburgers. I went through a phase in university where I would try a different burger every week, and I would make them hand pressed. Awesome a dinner that I really enjoyed. Now, that's a lot of that grain-fed beef that I was taking in. So a really good alternative that I found a couple of years ago is a white bean burger. So I'm going to go through this with you here, guys. So these white bean burgers have a little bit of a spice and a little bit of lime to give you kind of that those intricate tastes in the burger. So it doesn't taste like a super veggie burger. So I'll read out the different measurements for these ingredients. Now, afterward, we are going to send out the recipes for what we're doing tonight, so you guys can try them out yourself. So the first thing we're going to start with is 3 cups of cooked white beans. So with the white beans, you do have to soak them for a little while. So it's not like your immediate dinner. So you soak them the day before, and then they should be ready to cook the next day. Or you can get some of the canned beans in water, and then you just rinse them off pretty thoroughly before you get started. And then we have a 1/3 cup of red lentils. So those are going to go in there, and then you use 2/3 of a cup to cook those red lentils, and then get those all ready. And then we have, I'm just working my way down here, we have a 1/2 cup of red onion. That goes in there. 3 cloves of garlic. And then this one is optional, guys, depending on your taste preferences, but I like a little bit of a kick in my food. So 1 full jalapeno cut up. And just a tip with jalapenos, if you didn't know, if you take the seeds out, they're a little less spicy. So I'm kind of in that middle range, so I do take the seeds out, but I do like a little bit of that kick. So I put that jalapeno right in there. And then we have a 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs. to keep those burgers nice and compacted when you pack them together. And then we have 1.5 teaspoons of paprika, just to increase the flavor profile there. And then with cumin, we have 1 teaspoon of cumin. And then we have your favorite kind of seasoning mixture. So they recommend not using a salt-based mixture, using, there's several out there. I kind of like using a little bit of the keg spice. So that goes in there. And then last but not least, we have the zest of a lime. So do quick lime zest in there. Go. And then we're going to do 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Just enough in that bottle. All right, so now the fun part begins. You can get your hands nice and dirty. For this purpose, I'm going to use a little potato masher. And then you can mash those guys up. And then once this is nicely mixed together, it should be just enough moisture in there to be able to form them into nice little patties. And then, because we have the magic of TV here tonight, you put those guys in the oven, and then it comes out to be this nice, healthy patty. So these guys are great. I mean, I would have them at barbecues in the summertime. And I mean, to be truthful, I have them all throughout the year. Yeah, they're a great healthy alternative. And you can combine it with another healthy option by using a lettuce bun in place of a regular bun, if you want to do that as well. So, super simple recipe that gives you a healthy alternative to an American classic. And it's definitely something that I've enjoyed over the years. And like I said, guys, I mean, if you've written it down, it's okay, but we're going to be posting those recipes that you can try. And if you're interested, post a picture of the finished product if you give it a try.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Thank you. One of the things that I was just thinking there as Dr. B was preparing that was another little hack came to mind that we would potentially implement in our house over the last few years. And as we have navigated, Dr. B just talked about lettuce wraps. I'm going to go there with you in a second, but this is something called nutritional yeast. So this is from Bob's Red Mill. And we would use this nutritional yeast oftentimes as a binder. So the breadcrumbs that went into that would be a binder to try to be able to pull that together. So nutritional yeast would be a really great option in terms of that. It would get rid of any grain that goes into that, and it would bring you down to 0 sugar content, etc. So Bob's Red Mill nutritional yeast is a great option to be able to tweak things even more. One thing I want to tell you guys is that the growth process, like what you're going in, what you're getting here is you're getting like, honestly, like I've been in practice for 18 years and we started our health journey back when I was 22, which is the year I met my wife. I'm 45 now. So you're kind of getting 23 years of accumulation of stuff, right? So we didn't get to the point where our cupboard was completely empty of, nastiness really quickly. And there still is some nastiness in there. Like, I'm the guy who still loves chicken wings. I just don't do it all the time, right? And so as far as things go, that's what it is. So make those tweaks, those modifications subtly over time, and you'll do awesome that way. So we're going to go really quick into what I'm going to say is just quick, easy stuff throughout the day that you can tweak and modify
in order to be able to get rid of some stuff. So when I come home at lunch and I want to make sure that I have strong energy to finish out the day, that's not a time to come home and eat a bowl of pasta at lunch, right? Like literally I'll be asleep in the afternoon. I'll be useless for all you guys. So some of the things that we've done for tonight are just really quick variations, right? So for example, we would be able to make a BLT, okay, in a refined, healthier way. And yes, I still do periodically eat bacon. That's the first thing Dr. B said, you're gonna put bacon? I was like, yeah, right? We still have some bacon, right? So as far as that goes, we would substitute a lot of this stuff. So if we made those bean burgers, we would use lettuce wraps in order to use that instead of a bun. But an example of a way to make great tacos, a way to make a great BLT would be able to take an entire piece of romaine, and you can see how that could serve as a taco shell, that could serve as a vessel for whatever you wanted to do. So what I would do with this is I would come home, I would take that, I would grab a little bit of this keto mayo, and I would literally just swipe it right up the center of that. Oftentimes we love cooking large at our house so that we have lots of leftovers. So in here, you're gonna see a couple just sliced up chicken breasts. So if we made chicken breasts, rather than just making chicken breasts for that dinner, we'd make a ton of chicken breasts and have several chicken breasts in our fridge. With 4 kids and everybody on the go in different directions, it's important for us to have easy food available. So what I would do with this is I would, and I wouldn't always put bacon in it, but I would just throw like I'm trying to keep it intriguing for everybody. I'd put a strip of bacon up the middle. I would grab a few of these sliced up chicken breast, what I'm going to call is kind of like slivers like that. I then would take some tomato. I would put it right up the middle like that. I would take salt and pepper across the top of it. I would curl the lettuce over the top, and then I would literally go right into it and eat it like this, right? And so now I have what I'm going to say is a BLT with a very high level of nutrient, almost no insulin response at all because I've pulled the bread out of there, right? And I don't have to worry about having an energy swing, a nutrient deficiency, an insulin spike, or anything at all, because what I've done is I've just taken the bread out of that, okay? Another thing you could do with that very, very easily is you could use that shell for, Taco Tuesday. And so you would have your, ground beef or your ground chicken or whatever you're going to use for your tacos. You'd have all your other toppings shredded and ready to go. So you'd throw in your diced peppers, your shredded carrots, your, cabbage mix, whatever you're going to put into those tacos. And now that you've pulled the refined GMO-based corn out of your wrap or out of your thing, by using the lettuce, you've done a fantastic job, okay? This is iceberg lettuce, okay? Decored and pulled off outer layer, okay? As soon as I have this now, I have this iceberg lettuce in a position that I'm gonna be able to wrap whatever I want with this. So I would use this, for example, right? Here's a bowl full of egg salad that we made. So these would be pasture-raised eggs, okay, mixed with the keto-based mayonnaise. So in this bowl right here is ounces of good fat, beautiful, beautiful good fat and wonderful protein from those pasture-raised eggs. Iceberg lettuce doesn't have a ton of nutrient value, but it doesn't have a negative value either, right? So you would take this, again, you'd go back to your sliced tomatoes, you would do whatever, you could throw it into there. You would take your egg salad, you would heap it into the inside of that, and then you would fold this over, and literally you'd have an egg salad sandwich minus the bread with fantastic high nutrient levels that go with it, right? Most of the time when we're making this type of stuff, we're also slicing an avocado and putting that in there too. So when I showed you that chicken-based BLT that we would make, that would also usually have avocado in it. Why? Tons of fantastic fat coming through these avocados. And that's, point number 3 of our nutrition staple go-tos, right? So in our house, we would never, ever count calories. That would just, it wouldn't even be on our radar, okay? If you're eating low insulin producing foods, you eat all you want. Okay? You will not get fat unless you increase your insulin levels, okay? The calorie in, calorie out theory of weight loss has been disproven time and time again. It is inconsistent. That is why what happens is when you starve yourself of calories, you lose weight. But eventually, no matter how much you starve yourself, you will plateau and you will not lose any more weight. Okay? It's because weight loss is a hormone-based thing. It's not a calorie-based thing. And insulin is a hormone. And that's where you have your greatest impact, is in your insulin production, okay? Our latest one, we've only been doing this actually probably for a couple of months, is we've actually gone to half peppers for a lot of what we're doing. So one of the things that we love to do right now is we'll actually take the entire half pepper and we'll do something along the lines of say the egg salad that I have, right? So you're gonna take that egg salad and you're gonna put that egg salad right inside of that whole half pepper, right? So now that is full, just like that. When you then, from there, you can take whatever you want. You could take some of that bacon, you could put it in there, you could put tomato in there, you can take a piece of the lettuce and you can put the lettuce in there. And then what you basically have is you have in here the equivalent again of having a sandwich without getting the grain and the insulin production in your body. And the pepper is filled, like peppers are one of the highest vitamin C based foods that you can actually eat without getting the sugar content, right? So yes, an orange has high vitamin C. However, it also has a lot of what? Sugar inside of there. So you would just take this pepper just like this, and boom, you've got yourself an absolutely awesome, fantastic, good lunch. These aren't things that we would have for dinner at our house, but when you don't have a lot of time and you're just trying to have a quicker meal midday or a snack or something to get you through, those are wonderful options. Again, midday, let me swallow that. I'm not cooking chicken breasts midday, right? Those chicken breasts are cooked in conjunction with when we're using them at dinner, that kind of thing, right? There's nothing wrong with cooking, 4 extra chicken breasts and having those extra chicken breasts kicking around in the house, okay? So I'm gonna switch gears here and I'm gonna show you, my wife has been doing this forever. I'm gonna show you a coffee alternative, okay? For the hot drink lovers, okay? So for me, I love coffee. I still have coffee every morning. It's not the best for me, but it's just one of those things I'm willing to have a little bit of give and take. Why isn't coffee great for us? Number one, most coffee has a lot of toxins inside of it. Heavy metals, right? The production of coffee is in a lot of third world countries. So yes, you can get organic, which is a step up, but the purification process, there's lots of concerns about coffee. Number two is coffee has oil inside of it that when it gets processed and produced and roasted and all the rest of it, those oils turn rancid, right? So most of you guys would know that when you're cooking, there's certain oils you can heat and certain oils you can't heat, because what it does is denature those oils and they become rancid. And when you ingest rancid fat in your body, it is an extremely toxic thing. So coconut oil, for example, has a higher heat tolerance than butter does. That's why if you heat your butter too high, you end up seeing it go to smoke and it turns brown. If oil goes to smoke, it becomes rancid, and when it goes in your body, it is very toxic for your body. So coffee has those rancid oils in it because of the roasting process. Coffee also is a diuretic, so it drains your body of water, and when your body gets drained of water, it also gets drained usually of sodium as well, right? So it's a mineral robber from your body. Coffee promotes things like arthritis because of the acidic nature of it, et cetera, et cetera. However, I love it. And it is what it is, right? So it's one of those things where I say, that's one of my morning things. I love that coffee. And it's not like I'm sitting there saying like, hey, I need energy to do it. But I think so much of what I experienced in my life has a social tie to coffee, right? My wife and I dated, like half our dates were coffee, right? Like, and not because it was coffee, just it was what we did, right? When our kids were little and they needed to sleep in that car seat and you didn't want to take them out of the car, we went for coffee. When our kids couldn't sleep and we wanted them to sleep, we put them in the car, we drove, and we went for coffee, right? When people come over and they sit around our kitchen table, I ask them if they want coffee. Like, it's just kind of part of, I don't know, a lot of emotional stuff for me. And there's something comforting about it. And there's something I just really enjoy about the taste. So I have coffee in the morning and I use whole cream with it, because if you're going to put some dairy in your body, at least get the fat with it, because otherwise there's nothing that's any good about it. So if you're going to put some dairy in your body, don't let it be skim milk. Use whole fat. That's about the only good thing that's going to come out of dairy. So in terms of that, I would tell you, I would love to have coffee at 5:30 like I do. I'd like to have coffee at 8:30, 10:30, 12:30, 2:30, 4:30. I'd like to have coffee all day, but I don't, because it's bad for you. So I have a morning coffee, and usually that's it. The odd time I might grab a second one in the afternoon, but what I try to do instead is take a page out of my wife's book and drink matcha green tea in the afternoon. And she's made it more enjoyable. I don't know if we can tweak this screen a little bit to come over this way for us. She's made it more enjoyable for our family, a lot of these teas, by turning them into lattes and making them more powerful and stuff. So as far as that goes, I'm going to use our blender and a couple of things just to show you guys what I'm going to say is my second hot beverage of the day, most days, which is a tweak on coffee. But it's just really because I know that second cup and third cup and fourth cup is just not good for me. So this is matcha tea. Okay, this is the one we sell in our office. We sell it for two reasons. Number one is it's organic and it has no toxins inside of it. So again, matcha tea is oftentimes filled with toxins if it's not grown and harvested and processed properly. Number two is it is the only one that I have ever found that brews with cold water. So you probably don't use the word brew, right? But with cold water, this will mix fantastically. So in the summertime, if I don't really want to have that hot drink, and you know, some people like iced coffee, etc., you can mix this with cold water and it's just awesome. Okay? The background noise here is just the kettle that I flicked on. So to start with, what I would do here is I would take just a smidgen, okay, of this. I wouldn't even say it's a teaspoon. I'd say it's probably a half a teaspoon, and it's going to go into the blender. So that's the matcha green tea powder. That's what you're looking for. Okay? This is enhanced collagen protein. So collagen is a part of all kinds of different cellular matrices in our body, but you know, especially hair, nails, skin. Women pay a lot of dough to have collagen in many of their skincare things as well. So we throw some of that into there because it helps give it a little bit of a thicker texture, and it's really good for you. So we're just looking for ways to sometimes get really great stuff into our body. So collagen, especially as we age, is an awesome thing to be adding into our lives. Okay? This here is raw cacao butter. So this comes from the cacao plant, which is the same plant that real actual cacao, which would be dark chocolate, comes from. And there's actually like a fat that comes out of there. So when we look at this here, this has 14 grams of beautiful, wonderful, healthy fat in in a serving, which I don't know exactly what that is, but will typically is kind of comes in chunks inside of there. So we'll just take a chunk of that and we'll throw it in there. You don't have to use cacao butter, but again, it has a little hint of a chocolatey taste with it, which is awesome, and goes with that. And then what we love to do as well is we'll take that sunflower seed butter that we talked about in the beginning, and we'll take that sunflower seed butter and we'll just take a small scoop of that depending on the quantity that we're making. So I'm just going to call it probably that much there, and we'll get that into the bottom of the blender as well. So once that's in there, these are optional, but they make it awesome. This is Vita Coco coconut water. So this is a way to add really good electrolytes into your body, okay? It's a way to also get a bit of liquid into this and have it just get a smidge of nice natural sweetness that goes with it. So we'll take just a splash of this and we'll put that coconut water in there, just a splash like that. And then what we'll do is we'll take the water from the kettle and we'll top it up based on whatever size of drink we're trying to make. So what you'll see coming together here in the bottom of this blender is that coconut butter chunk that's in there, the matcha tea latte, the matcha tea, the hot water, the collagen. It's all kind of mixing and coming together in there. We'll put that in the blender, and this is going to be really loud, so I'll flick that on in a second. And then we would take that coconut oat milk that we mentioned to you in the beginning, and we have this nifty, whoa, Dr. B, you want to grab that for me, please? We have this nifty little Nespresso milk frother, but you can froth it however you want, or you don't have to have it frothed unless you're my wife, who says that it's just not the same unless you have froth on the top of it. But we'll just put some of that into our frother so that we can, can you grab me the lid that's just down there on the side too? Thanks, Dr. B. So that we can have that frothing and warming up while we got the blender going. So you won't hear me probably for about 30 seconds here because I'm gonna get our blender rocking and rolling. And then partway through the blending process, we throw in a splash of the coconut milk as well. So again, we're just finding ways to get that nutrient into our body in a good, healthy way. Okay? So fire that back on here quick. That's all mixed up. And we're gonna take that nice and steamy. We're going to pour that into our mug, which Dr. B, I don't know if you can tip that screen forward just a hair. There you go. There's our mug. We're going to take our, we're good. We don't need to have that back. We're going to take our froth up oat milk, the top of that. If you're really like a great barista, you're going to make a heart in there to give it to your wife. And then if you want to, because my wife says so, I don't really know why, you would put in a splash of rose water into that drink like that, and you would have love in a cup, okay? And so that there is delicious. It's wonderful. It's got this unique green tea nut, right? Because the sesame seed has a little bit of a nut taste, a hint of the cacao butter, and the rose water, all that stuff comes together to make it delicious. Just like that. And you know what, my wife's right. The froth on the top makes it legit. So you really do sometimes benefit from the small details. As a guy, I would just fly right past that, but the froth on the top, I can now appreciate how she has frothed my green tea latte all these years, and it makes a difference. So that is the alternative for that second cup of coffee later on in the day. Matcha green tea does have a caffeine associated with it, but it doesn't create the same hormonal adrenaline response that coffee does. So sometimes you can hear people talk about how they feel they get jittery when they drink coffee, or some people actually, even who have anxiety, get greater degrees of anxiety when they drink coffee, especially too much of it. The adrenaline production that comes from the caffeine of coffee is very different than the caffeine that comes from the green tea. Green tea is also been shown in all kinds of studies to have massive health benefits, everything from cardiovascular benefits, anti-cancer benefits. It has a very, very high level of antioxidants inside of it. And so this actually takes your coffee, which if you make coffee really, really great, organic, add some good fat to it, etc., you're trying your best to make coffee at best a neutral experience, right? Most of the time it's a negative experience for the health of your body, but you're trying to at least make it neutral. When you switch to something like this, or not switch, I'm just saying like your second cup becomes this, now you actually have a very health-laden beverage that you're drinking that's excellent for your health. So no longer are you worried about this robbing minerals, taking nutrients. You drink this green tea, it does not have the same diuretic effect. You will not find yourself running to the bathroom because your renal artery is dilated and you're actually releasing fluid all the time. It's a very different effect. So as far as this goes, it's a great way to mix things up and change that. Okay, so that I think brings us to the end of, what did we call this thing? Kitchen hacks with
Kitchen
the docs.
hacks with the docs.
Yeah, so we're finished with that. This is actually going to be our last Zoom workshop of 2020, right? I lost track of time since March. So this is our last Zoom workshop of 2020. We will, however, though, be back into full workshop mode in January. And whatever that looks like, it'll look like it. So if it's digital, it's digital. If it's in person, it's in person. But I want to leave you guys with just a little bit of peace, okay, amidst the storm of media, what I would call harassment that is going on in the world right now. Okay, and why I call it harassment is because the sensationalization of what's going on with that pandemic out there, guys, is meant to sell stories. Yeah. There is an infectious disease going around, no doubt. Okay. But we are in a position right now where we are doing wonderfully. Make no mistake. We sent millions of kids back to school in September, and those hardworking teachers have crushed it. I drop my kids off at school and I see those smiles greeting those kids. I see the kids happy to be there. I see them doing a great job, and we sent millions of kids back to school, and the newspaper wants you to think because there's 2 cases that everything's going to whatever, the pits. Okay, cases have to rise. Do not be shocked. Cases have no option but to rise. I have been saying since March, and I'm not alone. I'm not taking credit for it. I'm not saying Matt Tonus is the smartest guy ever. Okay, you cannot limit what an infectious disease is going to do from a pathway perspective. You can slow it and you can put it off, but it will be there when you leave your house again. So the fact that we have sent millions of kids back to school, that should be the headline. Congratulations, teachers. You guys are crushing it. The fact that you put snotty-nosed kids who have no clue how to even use a mask, and all they do is play with their eyeballs, their fingers, and their private parts all day long, and you have a couple cases in your school board, that should be applauded. And that should be the real story going on right now, is how amazingly good we're doing, okay? Mortality rates are lower than they were in the spring, okay? We're testing 4 times the number of people that we used to. Of course, cases are going to go up. Of course, cases are going to go up as we reintegrate people into society. Your part and your role, guys, is to care for yourselves and your family. That's your job. And how you do that is by staying healthy. You get to bed on time, you eat good food, you get your adjustments, you do what you know contributes to good health. That is the only thing you have the ability to control right now. Disease, all of it, infectious disease, degenerative disease, it preys on the weakest people. Okay? Your job is to keep yourself strong. We are doing amazing. I'm sorry that's not what you hear on the news. I'm sorry, when I talk to the government officials that I get on the phone and talk with, they actually say that they are only saying what their public health advisors are sharing with them. Many of them don't even believe what they're actually saying. And the news is sensationalizing everything. They always have, they always will. Right? That's what sells the story. We are doing fantastic, and I don't want you to lose sight of that. Only thing you have the ability to control is yourself and how healthy you stay. Okay? Living in fear is not helping anybody, and that's probably the thing that I would be the most disappointed with, is that we would sell a story about 2 cases in schools rather than the story of millions of kids going back successfully. Okay? Bless you guys. Stay strong, stay healthy, and stay in a place of understanding that we are really, really, really doing awesome, and do your part. Thanks for joining us.
Have a good night, guys. See you soon.